Welcome to my review of Mashle Chapter 52, Finn Ames and the Friend. Does that title mean we are going to find out more about Finn's magic in this chapter? Spoiler alert, we do, and it's not something any of us could have predicted, and if you did, congratulations, you're better at predictions than I am. But before I begin the review, I would like to request you remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content I put out. Now on with the video. So, the chapter starts off with a color page of Carpaccio with that angelic nurse-like creature behind him. I am not certain if it is supposed to be an apparition or not. Finn starts to sob and shake as he always does, while internally begging to be saved, saying he will lick your toes or kiss your feet if you save him. Honestly, at this point I have come to accept the fact that Finn is not a confident character, and is a coward given most circumstances, but it still irks me to see him so quickly lose his cool. On the first non-colored page we see the angelic being vanished, which just makes me wonder more if it is supposed to be considered an apparition or a physical thing. I might have to make a video on it at some point this week. But Carpaccio recognizes Finn because he is the continuing student who only just made the cut-off, causing Finn to make a wide-eyes ghostly expression as he realized he became famous in the worst kind of way. Following on to the next page, Carpaccio continues to speak about Finn with showing the least bit of restraint, questioning why someone like him was at Easton, why he was at the Divine Visionary Selection exam, questioning if his brother got him into the school. Finally saying that he can't help but feel disgusted by seeing talentless people like him. I seriously doubt that his brother got Finn into the school, and just like Mash said before, strength is different for each person. Declaring Finn talentless does not just show Carpaccio as an arrogant individual, but someone who cannot see any talent beyond those he recognizes to be like his own. He is a magic elitist who determines everyone is worth by their magical power. A monster crafted by the society he lives in, one which breeds these monsters by nurturing their intolerance and arrogance. On the next page he tells Finn to give him his crystals because it is not right for him to be there. Finn realizes that the monster in front of him might be the scariest thing he has ever seen. And following on to the next page, as he looks down at the crystal in his hand, he concludes that Mash's future is held in that crystal, so he must protect it till the end. It is good to see that even when more scared than he has ever been before in his life, he is still willing to try something. That to me, speak more to Finn's strength than anything Carpaccio has done up till now to display his own strength. But that once again is just a difference in the option of what strength is and what you value. I just personally value the strength of will over the strength of might. But carrying on to the next page, suddenly from Finn's chest a erupt of blood emerges and seems to cut him deep into his chest as he began choking on his own blood. Dropping to his knees, questioning why he is bleeding as he coughs up a few more globs of blood. As he looks up at Carpaccio questioning if it was magic, with Carpaccio asking him what he was doing. Following on to the next page we see Carpaccio standing over Finn holding the same knife which was stabbed into his arm in the previous chapter. For a moment I thought that he was going to stab Finn with it, but that is not what happens thankfully. Rather, Carpaccio questions Finn why someone so weak is trying to act like a big shot. And as Finn still on the ground stares up at Carpaccio, he begins to think on how when you're really scared, your blood vessels seem to squeeze shut and a cold chill clamps down upon your heart. Carpaccio, ignorant or not caring for Finn's condition, comments that he must understand you're aware of difference in their strengths. Interesting, Carpaccio is correct, but not for the reason he thinks, not because he is strong and Finn is weak, but because their strength is in different areas. I just found it curious that he picked up on something so true, but for the completely wrong reasons. But anyway, Carpaccio continues, saying how he will lose it anyway, so he should just hand over the crystal, so he will not get hurt. Questioning Finn if he wants to end up like the bloody barely conscious form of his previous opponent. Telling him he will not ask again. Then we get a page split with one half having Carpaccio's face shrouded in darkness telling Finn to give it up, and on the other we have three panels, one of Finn staring at Carpaccio with his face covered in sweat, a second where his head is lowered, and a third where he seems to be reaching into his robe to retrieve the crystal. We then transition to Margaret, who is walking through some part of the large fortress-like structure, thinking about how there are three standouts in the exam: Mash, who can't use magic, Lance, who came in first place in the entrance exam, and Carpaccio, who was able to maintain his position as the top continuing student. But he mentions how he believed that, like himself, Carpaccio had no interest in becoming a divine visionary, so he assumes that Uta must have made a deal with him too. So that's how he intends to prevent Mash from advancing, stacking the exam with powerful figures who wouldn't usually have an interest in becoming a divine visionary, so that they can act as roadblocks for him. How underhanded, but I cannot help but see that coming back to bite him in the ass later. Margaret remembers how Carpaccio was chosen by a wand fit for a national treasure, so in terms of talent he could be the best in the school. Then Margaret gives thanks to all living things with a short prayer, thanking his parents for giving birth to him. It might seem strange, but the more we learn about Margaret, the more I enjoy his character, and I could see him becoming a recurring character in later arcs, either as a villain or a sort of rival to Mash that does not have any sort of inherent malice towards Mash for his lack of magic. We move back to Finn and Carpaccio. The Angel JoJo-style stand is back behind Carpaccio as the man looks down on Finn, commenting on how he does not understand, he is going to get the crystal anyway. Finn, for once, not sweat or crying but thinking calmly, tells himself not to give up, he just must protect the crystal, with Carpaccio underestimating him and the fact he has not used his own personal magic yet. This is his chance. So, we finally get to see what Finn's magic is as he raises his wand to the ceiling. Calling out "Dangerous!", Carpaccio looks up only to find nothing. Turning to look back down, he finds Finn running away, questioning himself if it was just a cheap escape trick. Telling himself how he will catch himself soon enough as he starts to follow after Finn, much to the terror of the young man as he cries out "Changes!", and then suddenly Carpaccio is somewhere else. He is swift to realize he is in the spot where he broke the first crystal and the student he beat is gone, concluding that Finn's magic in fact swaps the places of things. Questioning if Finn did not use any sort of magic till now so that he would let his guard down. I'm not so certain if it is that or if it's because he is ashamed of how his magic compares to others, even if this magic of his is pretty strong if used correctly. We then see Finn running, thinking about how he was smart to say his personal magic till the last possible moment, so now he will be able to outrun him. Or so he thinks as his thigh is suddenly sliced open, causing him to collapse to the ground, cursing about how much it hurts as he can hear Carpaccio approaching him. Carpaccio once again stops behind him, questioning if it was some sort of last-ditch effort as Finn grinds his teeth and actual tears of pain well up on his eyes. Carpaccio stands on his already bleeding leg, telling him that he should know the difference between them, so he should just hand it over now. Finn, despite the pain he is no doubt in, still is not willingly handing it over, causing Carpaccio to tell him weaklings need to step down. And at that very moment he stabs the knife, which I am just going to assume is his wand now, into his chest, causing Finn to cry out in agony as he coughs up more blood. People in the crowd begin questioning what kind of magic he is using, wondering if it is some sort of transference of wounds, while also commenting that he is going too far. Once again, it's nice to see that the general population isn't completely filled with assholes. And then Finn has probably his best moment thus far, pushing himself up onto his hands and knees. Telling Carpaccio, he will never take the crystal from him. We then get a flashback to when Mash told Finn he was glad to have such a great guy for a friend. Finn admits out loud that he is a loose and a coward. We then get flashbacks to him and Mash eating snacks and the incident with the plant creature. Finn then pulls on the last remains of his strength to declare he would never stoop so low as to abandon a friend, yelling it right into Carpaccio's face without any concern. He then attempts to cast another spell, yelling "Nalcos," but whatever it was supposed to do goes unseen as blood suddenly erupts from his body. Carpaccio's wand knife was already shoved into his side, and as expected the damage is reflected onto Finn. He stands, completely unfazed, not even displaying any outward signs of anger as he tells Finn that he should just stop. It's ugly to watch people who will never succeed trying their hardest anyway. It gets on his nerves more than anything else. As he raises the knife to his throat, he tells him that he will show him that his efforts are wasted. As the crowd comes to the realization that if he cuts his neck, then Finn will probably bleed out, we see Carpaccio staring down at Finn, waiting to see him give up even as the knife digs into his flesh, leaving not a single wound behind but rather causing one to appear on Finn, who once again despite the pain shows his strength of will by refusing to give in. And at that very moment, Mash comes flying forwards, grabbing Carpaccio's head, and smashing it and the rest of him into a concrete pillar while declaring that his efforts won't waste, because he is there, and as he looks forwards at the form of Carpaccio, he thanks Finn as the bloodied and beaten form of Finn still on the ground speaks out his name, ending the chapter. I sure hope that not all damage is reflected, otherwise Mash might very well have just smashed Finn's head in without knowing it. But that is the end of the chapter. I wonder how we will start the next chapter. It would be interesting if Carpaccio was taken out already, but I have some doubts about that, given how he seemed to be so confident, although I'm not sure how he'll be able to get up after that unless he does transfer the damage someplace else, or has another trick up his sleeve.